Hello and welcome to Penguin TV. It is recorded by George Efelis, aka Whiffy Penguin, and you can follow me on Twitter at Whiffy Penguin. Penguin TV is hosted by PureMTGO.com and sponsored by MTGOTraders.com. Get an 8% discount off all orders over $50 when paying with PayPal or credit card. And you can check out CapeFearGames.com and get an extra 20% off when trading paper for digital. Enjoy the videos. Hey there everybody, welcome to another episode of Penguin TV. This week I've got Classic with 4-color fish, the black version instead of the red version. I like to do the little delineation in my head as sushi because there's no red, and red is fire, so the fish are raw, I guess. That's how I classify it in my head at least, is I played sushi. This is Timon's deck. I've made very minuscule tweaks to the deck. We'll start off with a mana base. We've got a basic island and a basic forest with 4 7-fetch lands, and we're playing 3 tropicals, 2 savannas, and 2 undergrounds on top of our 7 mana dorks. So we can get pretty much any color mana we need. Sometimes getting black is a little bit rough, but for the most part it works out pretty well. And then we've got Strip Mine and a quad of Wasteland, which is one of the main reasons that these fish decks can even compete, is by putting the opponent on the back foot just a little bit with mana denial. Moving into other mana accelerants, we've got 7 1-mana guys, which is great against workshops and pretty much helps invalidate Thorn of Amethyst. A lot of decks employ Noble Hierarch. Not a lot of decks employ Birds of Paradise, and it helps because we're playing 4 colors. But turn 1 Noble or turn 1 Birds can also get you into turn 2 Trigon Predator, which is a big deal. Also, Noble Hierarch has Exalted, which is, again, a big deal. Letting your guys attack for 2 or 3, or even just attacking with Noble Hierarch. Another interesting thing about Birds of Paradise is because a lot of the hate decks don't run it, this is a flyer that can attack unimpeded with Exalted, which came up in the videos today. Next we have Dark Confidant, which is our card advantage engine in the deck. This is the reason I wanted to run fish. Grim Lavamancer is a pretty good card for the mirror or slightly mirrorish match, especially since a lot of the green-white decks are running 2 2s or 2 1 bears. Grim Lavamancer does a great job against that. But the thing I don't like about Grim Lavamancer is that it can be mental misstepped. It can be you can Wasteland or Strip Mine away my red sources and I won't be able to activate it, and he only has a finite number of activations. Whereas Dark Confidant, if he resolves, they have to Swords to Plowshare it, Lightning Bolt it, or I start running away with the game. He can't get hit by Mental Misstep, and I decided on a pretty spicy sideboard card to make up for the lack of Grim Lavamancer. We've got 3 Tarmogoyfs. They are not the best creature. All they are is just big. They're nice against a lot of the green-white hate decks because one of the reasons people run the green-white hate decks is that it's not as expensive as Bant or other decks, and you don't need Tarmogoyf. But Tarmogoyf is great when you plan on battling 2 2s, let me tell you. Next we've got our Disruption creatures, 4 Qasali Pride Mages, which I'm a big fan of. The card is good. It helped reshape Classic and Vintage. And then we've got 3 Trigon Predators, which are just so good against workshop decks. And if you can keep Oath of Druids on the back foot, they're really good against Oath of Druids as well. Moving into our Disruption spells, we've got 3 Plows, mostly for creature decks. However, they do hit the guys in Workshop. and they do hit Blightsteel Colossus. Tinker is a problem for this deck, so having an out to Blightsteel Colossus is pretty good. We've got 3 Stifles, which are primarily to turn off fetch lands and help our Wastelands and Strip Mines. They do, however, stop a Wasteland from hitting you. You can stop an Oath of Druids, like, let's say if they play Oath of Druids, you can play Trigon Predator and stifle the Oath trigger, and then attack the next turn and blow up the Oath with your Trigon. That seems pretty good. And then we've got Nature's Claims, which, you know, instant speed, gets Oath of Druids, it gets Time Vault, it gets lots of things. Spheres, Lodestone Golems. We've got the ubiquitous 4 Force of Will. This is the reason to play with blue in the deck at all. If you're not playing Force of Will, you shouldn't be playing blue. Interestingly, this deck does not have a ton of blue cards. It's got 4, 10, 13, 16 main deck blue cards, which in a 60-card deck is the bare minimum amount of blue cards if you want to be able to have a card to pitch to Force of Will. So there is that. And you can sideboard in some more cards, but generally you end up sideboarding out a couple of blue cards. And Force of Will, while being just so ridiculously good, is also a little bit of a liability. Following up the forces, we have Spell Pierce, which goes very nicely with our land destruction and stifle package, as well as the fact that the format's fast, so being able to Spell Pierce something on turn 2 or 3 and gain some much-needed tempo is fantastic. And then we've got 3 Mental Missteps, which are quickly becoming one of the more important cards in Classic, much to my chagrin. So that's the deck, and I wanted to play this deck. I've had it in the chamber for quite a long time, and I just thought that now would be a good time to play it, and especially with the sideboard choice that I decided to make. So the sideboard is where I changed up most of Timmons' build. I've got 4 ley lines, which are just awesome, and you need them against Dredge. And then I also have 3 Ixalan Jailers and 2 Tormod Scripts, because Dredge is going to roll over this deck on game 1. I am probably never going to win, unless I lead the game with a blue land, stifle their Bazaar trigger, and then wasteland it. That's about the only way I could see winning a game 1 scenario. But game 2, we have 9 hate cards. More than half of our sideboard is devoted to just beating Dredge, which we need. We've got a 4th Trigon Predator for Workshops and Oath, and also blue control decks with Time Vaults. Then we've got Nature's Claim number 3 and 4 for, again, Oath, Workshops, and Time Vault decks. And then the spicy card is Old Man of the Sea. If you're not sure what Old Man of the Sea is, he is a 2/3 for blue, blue 1, and you may choose not to untap him during your untap step. You can tap him to gain control of a creature with power less than or equal to his. And you keep it for as long as he remains tapped, and as long as that creature's power is less than or equal to him. So in a metagame with 4 to 5 fish decks in every event, being able to have an endless supply of steal your guys seems pretty amazing. At 3 mana, he is a lot easier to cast than Sower of Temptation. Sower of Temptation might be better in more matchups, but Old Man of the Sea seems superior in creature-on-creature matchups. And then on top of that, as a 2/3 for 3, he's not completely terrible. He can block 2 X's, and he can also attack if he needs to. So that's the deck, and in the event I played against Green-White Hate, Panther Workshops, an Oath of Druids build, and a 4-color control build. All the rounds are coming up. Hope you enjoy them.